Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
It kind of feels like that, doesn't it, folks? Doesn't it kind of feel like that? Well, Secretary Hegseth, let me share with you another idea or prayer, if you will. It's a little thing called Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 through 6. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Sir, I duck. The reality of it is, if you want to play in this space, if you want to play Sunday school teacher or Secretary of Defense, as Alicia said, giving a bad version of the catechism or religious education, you've got to be prepared to deal with what a pope may have to say, what fellow Christians may have to say in response to that. That's not the space you come out of, obviously. But you know from your work, both here in the U.S. and around the globe, and looking at how governments respond in moments like this and what that says to people, what's your takeaway? What does it say to citizens when they hear their government thinking, acting, and behaving this way? What should we be concerned about? Because I don't think people fully appreciate where all this leads.
I think people are aghast. I'm the product of 17 years of Catholic education.
Oh, yeah.
And what Pete Hegseth was throwing down today bears no resemblance whatsoever to the ethos of the Catholic faith or Christian ideals. That was nutso. That really was. But also, the U.S. military is a religiously diverse, multi-confessional organization that want to do what they have to do on behalf of a country, not on behalf of a religion or that perverted view of what he was saying today. And so it just is it's idiotic. It's counterproductive at a time when the U.S. military is involved in very difficult operations. To have somebody like Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, not the Secretary of War, the Secretary of Defense, who is using these biblical verses in a very distorted and misrepresenting, in fact, the ideals of Christianity, which is why the Pope has been so outspoken about what is going on right now. And I think most Catholics, those who are, who are practicing their faith, and as well as those who have been brought up in their faith, can see that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are not in any way representing, again, the ideals of Christianity and the ethos, again, of the Catholic faith, which is really supposed to be trying to promote peace and love, which is what the Pope was saying. And so, I just, for the past several days, and I just came back from Europe. I've been over there a couple times the past couple weeks, and I must tell you, people are looking at the leaders of this country, and just being so confused as to this is not what they are used to seeing from American leaders. And it really is just putting us in a very bad light.
What were you doing in Europe?
I was talking to people. I was, briefing folks, and they want to understand exactly what's going on in this country and also what the role of the United States is on the world stage now, given that Donald Trump has taken a very, very unique approach to international relations. And they want to know whether or not if this is going to be enduring and also understanding the lasting impact. I want to hear from them how they are now reacting to what's going on here in Washington. What NATO countries are thinking about, how they're going to ensure that they can have the peace and security and stability that they need while the United States is off on this very, I think, disruptive tangent of what our history has been.
Why do you think this has been the red line for so many steadfast Trump supporters, people like Giorgia Meloni, who has been very reticent to criticize Trump?
Because it's seen as blasphemous. It's also seen as, the Pope has always represented sort of the goodness of the Christian faith. And, and I worked in the Middle East a lot, and there was a lot of reverence and respect for the Pope among the Muslim faithful, because they see that the role of the Pope is to try to bring this world together. and they see that what Donald Trump is doing, and he's portraying himself as a Messiah or Jesus or whatever, and is fighting publicly with the Pope, while the Pope is just saying, basically, war is wrong. What we need to do is to get back to principles of peace and being able to live together. And so, I give the Pope a lot of credit and praise for speaking out at this very difficult time.
Director Brennan, I'm going to take a hard pivot here, but there's some new reporting in Reuters today about you, and I want to give you a chance to respond to it. The FBI apparently ramping up their probe into you over the Russia report. The probe represents a far-reaching effort by Trump's Justice Department to revisit an investigation whose core conclusions were later affirmed by the Justice Department, a bipartisan Senate committee, and a CIA review, fueling critics' concerns that the Trump administration is using prosecutorial power to target perceived adversaries and relitigate a central episode of Trump's first term. I want to focus on the second part of that the relitigation. Why do you think that remains so critical to them?
Well, because Trump cannot get over the fact that in the 2016 election, the Russians did intervene in trying to promote his chances of being victorious in the presidential election. And they denigrated Hillary Clinton. And he feels as though that's a taint. And this is all part, I think, of a retribution campaign. So you have people like Jim Jordan, who is obviously a highly partisan individual who's, I think, unethical and unprincipled in terms of making criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. And, when I saw that report, I like to think that the Department of Justice prosecutors are doing the right thing, which is to interview people. I'm glad they're interviewing people. I'm glad they're going to be able to hear from people who were involved in this period, who worked on the assessment, who can say exactly what happened. I feel very, very confident in terms of what I have always said to Congress in open and closed sessions is consistent with the facts. And so, again, I am looking toward those prosecutors to be able to carry out their duties, their obligations and responsibilities in an ethical, principled, and legal manner. I'm just hoping that this is going to come to an end sooner rather than later.